podcast listeners, if you hear my voice right now, I need you to do something for me. I want you to take out your phone or on your computer, go to Apple Podcasts, search for Ask Your Oldhead podcast. You'll see my logo, my little picture, my little image there. Find the show. Please rate and write a review. It's a small thing, but it helps others find this work and find what I'm doing here. And it really, really matters, as small as that may seem. So if you could please do that before we get into the show, I would much appreciate it. Thank you for listening. Let's get into it. Peace. Peace. I've adjusted.
My brother, Justice Rajee.
All right, man. So, it is...
trying to shut us down, man.
Yeah, they can't stop it, though. They can't stop it. They want to stop it, but they can't.
Stop the bum rush.
So, speaking of, I guess, bum rushes, this week, the world was all a tizzy and a flame. Andre 3000 released a compilation of his first recording of him. You know what I mean? Doing his flute experience. You know what I'm saying? The brother's been, it's he has now become, and then we've talked about Andre 3000, I think, before. I think people about had, they had beef. I think they had beef with you. I don't know if they did. They ain't say nothing. But just sort of like, Andre 3000 is this enigma within a mystery of the rapping. Because, he be rapping. I like him. But also, he hasn't put out a record in almost 20 years. Of him doing any new raps, new vocal, performing, and so it's that like people waiting for, and when he gonna do a new album, and so in the world, and then I try to stay away from the celebrity spectacle version of understanding somebody like Andre 3000. I prefer to think of them within the context of the music and the creative stuff that they've done, not the like Andre 3000 is walking around Japan playing a giant flute, with a cool outfit on, and look at it and think things.
Right.
I try not to look at it that way. But that to me, I think I can't talk about this without talking about that piece of the public persona and public acceptance of this moment, where it became known that this record was going to be released, and the primary narrative that most media outlets went with was the word is that there will be no rapping, and that this is just him doing his thing with the flute, and various people then our national I don't know, it's not a nightmare, but the gnashing of teeth or the other way of whatever and thoughts and comments. And so I leave you there to go. What's some of your first thoughts about, what Andre, just this experience, however it's hitting you today.
Oh man. So I have a couple thoughts, man. Number one, it's not number one, so it's not in order, but I mean, as we're talking about it, building on it. Mm-hmm. Number one, hip hop is such a young art form. It doesn't allow for human frailty. It doesn't allow for the things that we think about that people go through. So Andre 3000, if you think about it, rapped from 1994 to 2003, 2004,
mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah, and I think there's some other appearances on records.
Spots, right? He did Scientists and Engineers with Killer Mike just now. He did on the Erykah Badu album about the radio, where every song was about calling.
Yeah.
So there were things. He was on what's the boy? He was on
Anderson .Paak.
Anderson .Paak album. So he did stuff. But I'm saying, as far as a body of work, it hasn't been in 20 years. So he rapped for 10 years, went off for 20, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's much more in the vein of how artists in other genres of music might be.
Mm-hmm.
Whether they die, you know what I'm saying? And like, there's not just this consistent thing where they just produce music all the time. I think hip hop has become, and especially post in the streaming era, it's become much more ubiquitous that like someone is doing something all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And we're so used to the other way, we can't, it doesn't make sense to us that like he just walked away, man. There's not too much else to be said. And I think we should recognize that that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like he gave you 10 years of really, really good music, right? Or really, really expert penmanship. That's all he owes you. He doesn't owe you to rap and for the next 50, until he's 60.
Yeah.
And I think that, I think sometimes about Miles, listening to the Questlove Supreme interview that you put me onto with Ntume and how he was there the night that Miles just gave up gave up the horn and didn't do anything for 10 years.
Right.
Right? Like from 75 to 85, Miles was like, fuck it, went silent.
Yeah.
Right? Like, but things happen to people. They don't want to do their thing all the time. They take time off. They get anxious. They don't have anything else to say. I mean, I salute him for realizing that at some point he does not have a lot to share. One of the challenges is a lot of artists are constantly producing music and they don't have a lot to share either.
Right. But they but they keep making music.
They keep making music with not a lot to share. Yeah. That said, number 2, there's 2 kinds of music in the world: good music and bad music. The point is not if Andre 3000 wants to be a flutist. The question is Andre 3000 a good flutist? Right? Does it meet the snuff test of someone who has been practicing a thing for, we can assume, over a decade?
Mm-hmm.
And practices it enough that he is seen practicing it and has a variety of flutes and does all this kind of stuff. Now, connected to this is everyone that's like, ooh, this Andre 2000, this on another level. Y'all don't even know. See, this is another level. Andre 3000, just flute music. See, y'all can't chill. You could do yoga to this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whatever.
Or not. Or maybe it just meets or doesn't meet the snuff test with the history of flutists. And, shout out to Rasan Roland Kirk. Shout out to Yusef Lateef. You think about someone
Hubert
like Eric
Laws.
Dolphy, Hubert Laws, Bobby Humphrey, right? So, there's a tradition here of black flutists that we don't have to act like this, frankly, that this nigga was the first dude to pick up a flute. Like, we're treating him like he was the first dude, like he's enlightened because he picked up a flute.
Hey.
And wanted to play it for 10 years. I don't know. I listened to it and it sounds like what you listen to when someone didn't really practice together and it's on in a B-level yoga studio. You know what I mean? Like it's, I don't know. I just go listen to Bobby Humphrey. If I want to listen to a flutist, listen to Eric Dolphy do Naima, which, for everyone, if you haven't heard Eric Dolphy's version of Naima,
yeah,
it actually is as good as Coltrane's version, and it's hauntingly different. Oh, amazing. But anyway, yeah, man. So I don't know. That's where I'm at with it. Like, again, I respect where he's at as an artist. Where he's like, man, I don't have anything to talk about. I don't want to be a 50-year-old, so I'm going to get my teeth cleaned. Right? Like, because that's his life. Or we're talking about going playing the flute. Like, he's not going to drop what clothing he's wearing on you. He's not going to do any of that stuff. And he's not going to give you positive financial messages and talks about.
Right, he's gonna tell you about he's gonna tell you about financial literacy, man. We got to deal with generational wealth. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, right. So he's not going to tell you what all the 50-year-old rappers are going to tell you about, right? So if he's just decided that that's not what he's going to do, that's cool. But the question starts to be, if there's this huge press run for dropping an album, the question starts to be, man, I don't know, man. I just think you should have got with some band leaders and some folks that, now again, if he just wants to play from his heart, but
yeah, well, see, here's the thing. Like this, on that note, I'm gonna touch on that note that I like my bigger thought about just all of this. And is one, I don't know if he was really like if he really wanted to make a big deal about the fact that he was putting out a flute album. I feel like he was just like, yo, I just made some flute music. I'm gonna put it on, I'm gonna put it out. I mean, I didn't experience it like he called Rolling Stone. I guess he did the GQ interview somewhere.
Right.
I didn't read it. I don't know the timing I mean, I didn't read it in the context of like I didn't read it in the magazine in a timely way where I could understand like how one led to the other, or if they are intimately connected or not. But I don't totally get the sense that he was like, yo, I need the world to get down with this flute experience. Like, as much as like, I want to make a flute album. I've been practicing this flute. I've been walking around the world playing this big old wooden flute, and I want to share it with everybody. So, you know, that may not be the case. You know, I guess as anything, once someone is famous, it's easier to do some other thing that people might get into because they already know who you are. So, like, if he was like, you know, Andre 3000 is real into crockery, and he was making like ceramic casseroles, and he wanted to like launch and like show us the process. You know what I'm saying? It'd be like easier for him to do that than like Justice's crockery, because y'all don't know Justice unless you listen to this podcast or you know work with me in some other way. You know what I'm saying? Just saying. But the other thing that this whole thing had me thinking is just sort of like, on a larger level, the way whoever you are is allowed to be any other part of how you are once people see you in one way, right? So if you know, and my only kind of public statement on the Facebooks, the people, you know, within that circle of people was, look, if he want to do the Andre 3000 flute experience, y'all don't gotta listen to it, man. Let him live. Let him do his flute thing, you know. And if he want to rap later, go listen to him rap. If he want to play the spoons and harmonica, you know what I'm saying? If he come out here with the pat, slapping the spoons like Sonny Spoon. Remember Sonny Spoon? Remember that show? I do. You know what I'm saying? He'd be out here with the spoons, like slapping it, pat, pat. You know what I'm saying? He'd be like, yo, my granddaddy used to play the spoons. You know what I'm saying? This is some traditional black, you know what I'm saying, thing. You know what I'm saying? Out here hitting the spoons. That's his business. Like, you don't have to, none of y'all are paying for none of these records. You're not going to go buy it. You know, some of y'all might. He did put out vinyl, so if you put out vinyl, you are intending someone to buy it. But you know, that's like a specialty thing now. That's like a commodity product. That's like a luxury product. You know what I'm saying? If I'm gonna sell you, I think it's like 3 records too.
It's like $100-some too.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, damn, Andre, I see what you're doing, right? But then it's like the things that I would say I found more bothersome or I didn't really appreciate was folks sort of almost like he's diminishing the shine of who he is as a generational rapper and all this other horse crap. You know what I mean? Because he don't want to rap, or he's being honest, like, yo, I ain't really got nothing. I don't got nothing to rap about. I don't feel compelled to express myself that way, right? And whatever constructions of the world that, you know, which ultimately a lot of times to me, and this is someplace where I'm just at, I think right now, and how I look and see people's behavior leads to this sort of like, this is only valuable to me and how it's valuable to me, right? It's like, it's my individual thing is what's most important. And therefore, once Andre 3000 steps out of my individual thing that I think is important that Andre 3000 does, I'm no longer cool with Andre 3000. So since he wanted to be the flute man, I only want Andre 3000 to be the dude that raps.
The person you want him to be. Right.
Yeah. And raps in this, you know, complicated ways and does things with space and does, you know, I love, I can't mimic one right now. I was going to go for it, but I couldn't bring it up. You know what I'm saying? So then it's this like nostalgia lost piece. You know what I mean? For folks of a certain age, you're like, yo, I'm, basically these people are our age, our peers, our musical, outcasts happen like around the same time we met in the world.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And then now it's like, yeah, but it's like Big Boy want to go do something. Like, ain't nobody asking Big Boy to do nothing. Big Boy rap too. You know what I'm saying? Ain't nobody hounding Big Boy for.
He can rap his ass off. Right?
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Ain't nobody hounding Big Boy. Where Big Boy? Big Boy, Big Boy want to do a bass record? You like, I'll be playing my bass guitar. You know what I'm saying? Just bass. Just being the bass and like a drummer. Like people, maybe I guess people would be mad. They'd be like, why you ain't gonna rap? I mean, whatever the case may be, it's a very interesting, because I make the analog of like, there's positive affect and a negative affect of every age and your growth and your progression through age. And somewhere, a man that's approaching 50 that made not only was like rapping, but climbed to the pinnacle of musical performance. And he's up there hanging out and then goes, I don't know, I'm good. Like I made money. I enjoyed making art and being creative. I'm not necessarily into all this like celebrity stuff to like the umpteenth degree. Like I don't want to be on you. And then y'all want me to put out a new record every 2 years? That's a demanding, I don't know if people know how hard that is. And then that if your life way, when you get into this other place and you experience that, development, that point of crisis where something you've been doing in your life, this is anybody, you a man in your 40s, and then suddenly you end up here with a Mazda Miata. You know what I'm saying? And we're like, oh, we know why you got that Mazda Miata. You was feeling like you was losing something. So you went out and bought a top down fancy car. So you get, or whatever thing, my desire would be for most of us when we hit those checkpoints in life where you think whatever path you've been on, you realize maybe you're at the end of that path, or this path no longer satisfies you, or this path no longer brings back rewards, that then you go, well, what's my next path? So maybe that is, taking up running in a more serious manner, or going into some part of like, if you was really into cooking, but then you're like, man, I'm really into cooking now. Like I'm cooking, like I'm in the house, I'm making funded potatoes and all kinds of complicated, preparations, because I wanted to go to a deeper place or a different place in this part of how I live my life. Or, maybe you decide to go, harder in the classic suiting, or you just, I ain't doing none of this stuff. I'm just going to lay low and hang out with the people I love. Or, the other side that we see in America is people break up their relationship. They go get make a questionable decision in regards to how they spend their money, or like any number of these things. But there's a part of where if someone is doing something that generally is positive and it's fine, but it's not what we want people to do, we feel very comfortable going, they're wrong, or they're bad, or they're less than, because they're doing this thing that I don't think makes sense. You know what I'm saying? And there's jokes, right? There's like jokes around it. And that's, and for those that might differentiate, like I understand like the joke of, you got, Andre 3000 with like the pan flute and like the meme of going like, this means I'm done talking. That is fantastic. Because it is true. He's like, yo, I ain't got nothing to rap. There's no more rap. You know what I'm saying? Let's get off this text thread. I'm going to send you the 103,000. And now, I'll talk to you tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? Right, that's a great piece of contextual creativity. But I think the thing that I think is valuable for all of us to think about is how much space do we make for the people in our lives to be somebody different than who we thought they were. And when they need to make that transition for their own well-being, or because they're like, yo, I'm really into these pots, man. I'm trying to make these ceramic pots. And they at the crib with the pot spinner and clays going all over the place, and they glazing stuff, and you won't come to their exhibit. They like, oh, I invited you to my pot night out, and you ain't want to come because you thought that was some weird shit. And they over there like, I thought you was my brother. I love you, man. You don't want to come see me make these pots. You know what I mean? Let me get the kiln fired up. You know what I'm saying? I made you one for your birthday. And then you be hating on it. And then you be like, man, why Jeff don't call me no more?
I made you one for your birthday.
The brother was trying to find himself and found peace in his life through pottery, and you ain't even give him a chance to show it to you. You ain't had to buy the pots. He was going to give it to you. You know what I'm saying? So I just,
for your birthday.
I just want people to think about that these are potentialities, man. As you grow older and you be in long-term relationships with the people that are if you're fortunate enough to have them, people change. You know what I'm saying? They like, yo, you only wore Jordans. Now you won't wear them at all. You going to the system. I'm not a Jordan dude, just for the record. You know what I mean? Unless Jordan won't give me some. But I'm on the record about this. So I'm not going to go in.
They need to listen, you up there, they need to be breaking them. They need to be, you know what I mean?
I ain't gonna have Michael Jordan be in the same room with him one day. Like I said, this is my standing. I'm just gonna do it real quick because people might not know. My standing philosophy and study on the situation is Jordan, it seems like a dude that if whatever your occasion in life, you happen to be in the room with him and you had on a pair of his shoes, I'm positive he would go out his way to let you know, I see you wearing my shoes. And I can't let that man disrespect me like that. Just can't happen. I don't care who he is. These are the justice rules for everybody. But hey, man, like, I don't care, 6 chatted titles, blah, blah, blah. You ain't gonna talk to me like that. You ain't gonna disrespect me like that, Mike. You know
Well, we all saw The Last Dance, so we all have a general idea of who this guy is.
Yeah, much love to success to the Jordan family or whatever. You know what I'm saying? I ain't saying it's beef. I'm just letting you know we got to come to terms with respect as men. You know what I'm saying, in the world.
Yeah, you gotta give him that Somali pirate look. Right. My boat now. Don't say nothing. I'll be captain. Don't say nothing about my shoes.
I mean, because like other people, you could be like, I bet you got some Allen Iversons on. Allen Iverson would he just be like, hey man, you want a sandwich? Like he'd pass you a drink. Michael Jordan gonna be like, oh, I see you got the threes on. I'm like, hey Mike, settle down, man. What you trying to? Why you gotta high side me like that? You know what I'm saying? We all here at this event together. Like you ain't gotta treat me that way. Anyway. So that's a justice. I probably should let that go at some point. But we're working on it. We're all working on ourselves.
We're all
just like Andre 3000 playing that flute. So,
and listen, man, you made an amazing sublime point. This shit's either good or it's not.
Right.
And I've listened to it twice because I actually gave it, and it's something to fall asleep to. Like,
it's like fluty flute poop, like there's a name for that type of flute that I don't remember the name of. It is that type of flute music, which has a place, not always my thing, and that's okay.
Yeah, and I think, as someone who listens to much more music that doesn't have words today than music that has words, I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
Right? Like 70% of the music I listen to ain't got words today. Right? So I like the fact that he did that, and maybe what we'll see is, and he don't have to listen, he ain't gotta do shit. All I'm saying is, the idea of collaborating with those who are also advancing Black music in that kind of way. But again, to your point, trying not to put, maybe he ain't dedicated to the to the canon of Black music. Maybe he just want to play the goddamn flute. And so that means that's cool, but it also means I don't really have to pay attention to it, right? Like, because I think we get into this thing of like either you're paying attention to it or you're not paying attention to it, and it's a value judgment versus like it's a piece of art, just like however many albums dropped on Spotify last week that are just pieces of art, and like you take them how you take them, man. But get a brother a break. He clearly does not want the fame. He does not want the attention and all that comes with that level of thing, and he wants to be able to actually pursue art.
Yeah.
And I do think that's laudable that he is an artist and wants to pursue art.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Now, in other news, somebody who, I don't know if he's pursuing art, but something that stood out that also occurred in the recent weeks, at least since last time we talked, before anyone scored any buckets in a Minnesota Timberwolves Golden State Warrior game, Draymond Green put Rudy Gobert in a chokehold amidst Rudy Gobert trying to break up a squabble, an NBA style, hold me back, situation. And really put this man like in the sleeper hold. And to me, it was a testament case and like, Draymond, what like this is way outsized of a reaction. I mean, it's one thing if you like put him in the hold real quick, like pulled him and then let go, but he was like holding on. Like he really had beef with Rudy Gobert. Like this was finally his chance.
He was choking like it was Django.
And then like like Jody, like the well, you probably seen it on the internet. Call for your mama. Like it was like, oh, you can't put a grown man in public in
he definitely choked you like Jody on Baby Boy.
Like, what are we doing? Like, Rudy's team seemed to be like, well, I know we can't let him put him in the chokehold. Also, I can't get suspended. You know what I'm saying? Like, and all I could think was like, because the clear answer, if you my man, if we was playing pickup we was playing pickup basketball, and for some unknown reason somebody decided they was gonna put you in the sleeper hole, I'm socking them. Like I'm
Oh, they
America.
getting clotheslined.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
all
going
kind of
down.
shit,
It's
all kind
going
of shit's
down.
happening, man.
You know,
Well,
we have no stakes though. Also, I guess so. We just got personal pride. That's all we got.
yeah, but there is something. Well, one there before I even get to Draymond, I think your point is all point about the Minnesota Timberwolves. Now, remember there last year that one of them punched the other one, like in
Yeah,
the
they did. Like
right.
on the sideline.
So clearly their team's a mess, right? When it comes to camaraderie, because nobody got Draymond off him. Someone should have took a 2-game suspension to let them know, and that the state, and that
The world though, right? That
the
this will not
world know
stand.
it will not stand. Say what you will. There's some statecraft. There's some statecraft ramifications there. I know of what
Oh,
I'm saying.
yeah,
However,
absolutely. We're talking about basketball. This is a
yeah,
basketball and personal life analogy.
yeah.
Nowhere
There's some
else.
state. There could be statecraft there, but for this is a statecraft. Like, yo, because your team has been known to be the team that doesn't like each other, and you let your number one player, or one of the number one players, because was the young boy's number one player now on their team.
Anthony.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Anthony.
he's the number one for
Yeah,
now.
yeah. He's the captain now.
He's the captain now. But like, yo, y'all should have done something, man. Somebody should take a 2-game suspension, and then the rest of y'all put money in. Especially if it's maybe somebody off the bench who don't play a lot. He should have took the suspension, and everybody should put a fund together for them 2 games that he was going to miss because he needs the money.
Right. Make sure he can, make sure his stuff is straight. So hey
Make
man,
sure
we
his
got
stuff is
this.
straight. So that's one just about the Minnesota Timberwolves, and I think they are a franchise that is like frighteningly stuck in the middle. Like they're a franchise that like has good players, has a fan base, but because of the conference they're in, and just a lot of factors, and one of the factors being that it's dreadfully cold. Um, you're not getting a whole bunch of people that want to go there, and so you're like a middling franchise, right? And so if you're like a middling franchise for a long time, there's a malaise that starts to set in, right?
Yeah.
So that's just something with that. Now with Draymond, man, I'm a LeBron fan, and the whole kick to the nuts thing during
Yeah, the
the
finals.
Cavs, that's a little light. It was a kick to the nuts, but it wasn't a super kick to the nuts. You probably didn't.
Right. The
Did
kicks go.
probably
He might not really
yeah.
make contact. It was sort of
Yeah,
in the
you
area.
didn't make contact, and so should have been out the thing. Does LeBron, kind of create? Does this go to cement his legacy when he does that? Probably, right? Probably. But then last year, you mollywop Jordan Poole,
Yeah. Your teammate. In
right? Your
practice.
teammate, like
Like in like
flattening,
training camp. Like you
like
sock him.
flatline,
Like you really
like
socked your
not just
mans. Like we're on
yeah,
the
like
same team and I
flatline.
socked you.
And there's a thing there, and whatever he said about your money, or and then Jordan Poole has realized we now see that he
He's
can
not a
stink up a
serious
place like
person.
no other. He's not a serious yeah, like you were saying, he's not a serious person. Him and homie up there stinking up the what's the name, and in DC, for all my Wizards fans up there stinking up the
Yeah,
court.
I'm saying veteran leadership. You know what I'm saying? Veteran leadership out here. Let me show y'all how to do it, young fella. Like I'm a
out there
champion.
dunking when they down 20 and all that kind of shit.
Me and Kuzma are NBA champions. Let us show you how you do this.
That's like when Stacey King came to the Sixers after he
Right.
won with the Bulls. And he's like,
I mean,
I'm sure about to win as an NBA champion. NBA,
Stacey
yeah,
can't get on the bench.
the most general way possible. Um, and then this, and so Draymond feels like the type of thing the type of person that is passionate, and it's like you overlook it when it's beneficial. And I think the question starts to be like, how at this age, at your big age, right, Draymond, you're at your big age, how do you keep yourself in check? Like this isn't this idea of like the team captains and Steph having to come over and this is like, yo, you got to keep yourself in check, man. And what do we project when champions, right? People who've had an illustrious career still can't kind of get an emotional, you know, kind of get some emotional balance, right? In some ways, I look at it, not they're not the same, but on the kind of the Harden thing, right? Like Harden's an example. James Harden's an example of a guy that's like, if he can't have fun no more, he want to go somewhere else,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like anytime it gets unfun for him, he wants to leave.
He's like, yeah, I'm ready
It's
to
like,
go. He's like, this
he's
party's
like,
over, right?
party's over because he can't have fun. The girl he was dancing with left, and now everybody got to leave the party.
Right, my car
Like,
here.
hold on, man.
I called the car. Is
Like,
the car here? Is cars out there? All right, man. Let me get up out of here, y'all.
so anywhere that he can't have fun and ain't got, I guess the strip clubs are going down. Like, you know, he ain't feeling no more.
Yeah.
And Draymond is kind of almost like that. What are we taking from the behavior? Like in basketball, I think is uniquely positioned in an American context because, you know, there's not a helmet and there's not a hat, right?
Mm-hmm.
When we think about football, for all that we know about it, there's a helmet. And when we think about baseball, there's a hat, right? And there's a hat that outside of a couple of things obscures the eyes, right? So that there's something that still feels very utilitarian and almost like everybody's kind of the same. I mean, people have different hair, but like
Mm-hmm.
it's just you don't get the baseball like superstar because we're not seeing all their faces
Yeah. Yeah.
in the football. You know what I mean? And so anyway, so I think basketball in an American context gets put on a pedestal around behavior
Yeah.
and kind of quizzical as to his ability to regulate that. And also, let's say this, and please, I'll add on. You can add on. The Warriors are an interesting picture of team chemistry in its own way, much like the kind of like the Timberwolves of
Mm-hmm.
like these personalities that are gelling for a purpose. And again, we look over it when they are three-time champions. We don't make a lot of it, but now that they're not anymore, or I mean, they did win a year ago, but like now that they're not perceived to be the people who are going to win a championship, this stuff sticks out. So that's my take on it.
Yeah. Well, and I think this may be on the other side of even our prior conversation is it's like being with your friend. If you got a friend that's still like, it might be a fight at the bar if y'all would have some drinks. If somebody step on his sneakers, but we were like 40 now. It's like, yo,
Right.
fam, like I can't be up here. You about to have a fight with somebody about some sneaker getting stepped on. Like, I mean, it wasn't necessarily cool when we were 22, but we were 22. You my man's like, it was cool. I'm 40, dog. I'm almost 50.
Right.
Like, in NBA sense, it's like, Draymond, you are an aging veteran. You know, where you going with this, man? Like, do you have to start the year with some hijinks? You know what I mean? It's almost, and it becomes a thing of like, I guess it's something that was shared in a conversation I had with a good brother of ours on the internet. He sent me something, and it was like two older folks that was wild, kind of what, like I could, oh wow, I could see the cloth y'all are cut from, and it's like young fool, old fool, it's all the same. Like, it's no guarantee that you get better just because you got older. Like, like you might, but it ain't built into the system, right? And a lot of us in life make that mistake. We think, oh well, they'll get better as he gets. No, he's not. They may mask their intentions due to the potential costs. They may, change in some way the way it looks, but if you think about it deep, you're like, no, actually, that's the same weird stuff you did when we were 7. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you got a cousin, like me, if you got my fictive kin cousin who threw our Incredible Hulk, the big size Incredible Hulk action figure out into the ocean because he was kind of feeling jelly because he ain't have an Incredible Hulk action figure. he ain't really no better person right now. Much I would love him to be better, but he ain't. That ain't nobody's particular fault necessarily. I mean, I can say, I guess I say this to all y'all. If you are over a certain age, justice does slightly judge you if you still are doing stuff you did when you was like a child. Just keeping it real. Doesn't mean I don't love you, but it does mean I kind of go, got to do better, my man. Or I'm only going to hang out with you, but so much because I don't want to deal with that other part of your life. However,
That's
like
right.
the aspect of like, because we do this thing and we tell young people this, we tell ourselves, I will just do better because I'm getting older. And that without some actual commitment, personal commitment to action is no guarantee of change. You know what I'm saying? So whatever's happening in your life and you're like, man, I'm mad about this and this disappointing me and the people Scooby Dooby Doo, and the people are wrong for whatever wrongs they've wronged you. You are also, present and occupied for whatever stuff you do that's kind of like, maybe you shouldn't have put that man in a sleeper hold in the middle of a basketball game for anybody scored any buckets, Draymond. You don't get that contract extension. You know what I'm saying? It ain't nobody
Somebody to
else's
blame.
thing
That's
but
right.
you. You know what I'm saying?
That's
Now,
right.
I have my thoughts about the Warriors as a larger thing, and it ain't NBA talk, you know what I'm saying, time. But, my thought is that they're a sinking battleship that still got people that are good enough on it that is going to fight to the end. But, they got through a window and they got a fourth one in there. And, thanks for the memories, guys. Good job. You know what I'm saying? I don't
Right.
see it though. And it's a strange occurrence. I mean, it's it's not thankfully no one was hurt in any serious way. So we can like laugh and giggle about the reality. Cause like there are like real fights in the world where people get really hurt. That's not funny.
Right.
NBA chokehold for no reason. People try to figure out how to make it stop without escalating is a different thing. You know what I'm saying? And so, I guess I say that to say, on a day like this or weekend like this one, which is beautiful and sunny here today. Don't put nobody in a sleeper hole on a basketball court for two other people basically pulling at each other's shirts. like leave it alone, man. Just hey man, break it up.
Yo, he did that shit with extreme prejudice.
Right. Like, I've been waiting my whole life to put this man in the sleeper
Yo,
hole.
you could right. That looked like he was waiting this whole life to choke him out, man.
He like that. He like the cousin that play too much. Like you was a kid, you had that one cousin. It's like, hey man,
Absolutely.
like, oh yo, you were going a little too hard. Like we was play fighting, but you kind of taking this over the edge, man. Like I'm
and
at to
just like
bite
as
you.
kids, and just as kids, we would say you play too fucking much. Draymond, you play too much.
Yo, man, it's like, man, get away from this dude, man. It be like, oh, why y'all upstairs? Man, Draymond play too much.
That should be the head and top. That should be what this joint is called. You play too much.
They be like, well, y'all go outside then. I don't want to go outside with him.
Oh
He
man,
playing.
he played too much.
Hopefully somebody cuss Draymond out when he come up from the basement because he coming up last.
Man.
He down there playing the Nintendo by himself now. Talk about they tripping. Like, nah, man, you play too much.
You
Man.
tripping. You tripping, Draymond. You play too much.
You know what I'm saying? We was having fun, a little roughhousing. You done went and put somebody
Man.
in a real chicken wing. Like, that ain't cool. Damn, Draymond.
We're keeping it real go wrong, man.
Yeah, man. So if we got time, I got the one last thing on the note to exit. It is autumn. And I've found myself, I've discovered, trying to piece together where I'm at, with my day-to-day wears, that I do like a nice knit, a nice sweater. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't have a total angle on this, but I did want to get your thoughts on like appropriate sweater combinations and figuring out, because, me and my body heat dynamics, I got to get the right sweater for the right situation. You know what I mean? You get one of them really thick woolly sweaters and you try to go somewhere and like walk through a mall or something.
Be inside, yeah.
It's sweating
yeah.
bullets, or it's not.
Yeah.
It's not quite cold enough for a sweater that thick. But I was interested in just your general thoughts.
I think sweaters are metaphor. What a sweaters are metaphors for a lot, man. not to wax philosophical for our listeners, like these niggas went, they just start being philosophers or statecraft and sweaters. But I do. So when we built on it, I thought about the origin story, not the origin story with sweaters for a lot of us of our age, but like where the idea of a sweater entered our kind of fashion or style lexicon. And it
Mhm.
usually was like Bill Cosby, right?
Right, right. Hmm.
Like in those like expensive sweaters. And then I also think about during the late 80s. So you had two, because you had the Bill Cosby, and then also like the hustlers of that time, especially like in Philadelphia. If you look at like all the pictures, they had really nice sweaters on,
Hmm.
right? Like they had open shirts and sweaters, right? This was before we wanted to perpetually dress like we were 19 or that we were doing an athletic event, right?
Right, right, right. Like we was either coming or going from the athletic event in some
Yeah.
way. Yeah.
So the athleticization of the American wardrobe, and then maybe even the global wardrobe. But and then you had the idea of the turtleneck, right? So if you remember during our childhood, like a good turtleneck was you was the man. If it sat up right and you wore it with some
Right.
sweatpants, or you wore like you was the guy, like you know what I mean, wore it with your jeans. You had like a green turtleneck, red turtleneck. You wore like the turtleneck underneath your sweatshirt, right?
Yeah.
So you had these like running things of like sweaters, and then you get the whole, in the 90s, you get the whole Coogee sweater concept, which I think is
Mm,
important to note here that the stylist Groovy Lou is who
mm.
put the Coogee sweater on Biggie, and it was him looking at a person who lived in Mount Vernon and Harlem and their style, which influenced Groovy Lou to dress Biggie in sweaters,
Mm.
Coogee sweaters. There's a lot of New York things there you can start to extract from that, because you
Hmm.
can take that it took Biggie from wearing camouflage jackets and everything, like a fundamental Brooklyn thing, and then
Right.
it take him to having this like hustlers motif, which was more forwarded by Harlem and and Mount Vernon, which kind of goes back to some of our conversations about the Harlem thing and hip hop and all that. So
Right.
there's that, and then you get to like as we become adults and you get to these various permutations of sweaters, right? So you get the hat, the quarter zip, right?
Right.
You
Yeah,
get
the
like
quarter zip.
that.
Hmm.
You get you the quarter zip that you wear. You can, again the turtleneck, and like how can I actually just bought a turtleneck again, right?
Right.
Like a black turtleneck. So I got my Steve Jobs on and shit, or it looked like every older black professional when they go
Right.
into like a cabaret. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? I
Right.
got
You put the turtleneck. I gotta admit, it works though. You put the turtleneck
innocent
with a sport coat, some slacks. It's like,
turtleneck with
okay,
sport coat
I see what
slacks,
you're
right?
doing.
Or even you could do if you do turtleneck and jeans and some shoes, like you can make that work, right? And it's kind of like you have to embrace multiple ways of like I think showing up, and when your world has to go beyond sweatshirts and button down shirts, right? Because I think we find ourselves in these worlds post COVID, and especially depending on where you're at, as you and I have built on, you know, you can have dress codes that are really, really casual,
Yeah.
right? And so a sweater, I think, sometimes makes things neater for places where people don't want to get dressed up. It kind of gives you some other context,
Yeah.
um,
Mm.
that I think is like really helpful. I will say recently I've started to engage the kind of slightly oversized sweaters. Um, you know, the famous label who are doing them is kind of like that thick, almost Shetland wool look. Is like Marnie, where they make like $1,500 sweaters or whatever have you.
Oh
That kind of looks
yeah.
like Sesame Street. It kind of like the Sesame
Look
Street, or
at
like a mascot, like that wool, like
yeah.
oh man, like you're gonna shed.
Right. You about to
But
jump through a cannon or something.
right. So, but I have been doing that like kind of oversized sweaters, as I think again there's something to be said for just being able to break it up. So I think sweaters mean, they add some diversity to your wardrobe, and I think in some ways also uh, it kind of chronicles, it heralds like going into old head status.
Yeah.
Right, like it is kind of a recognition
Let me
that
put
like
this sweater on. You know what I'm
let me
saying?
put this sweater on that things have changed a little bit. Like you're not in you're not in your years of like it has to be some kind of shirt that people find to be slick and cool. Like you're
Yeah.
putting on something that like makes sense. So that's how I feel about the sweater, man. It's kind of representation of something, you know.
Yeah. I mean, and I brought this up because, like, so I mean, we talk about dress and clothes things, and I've been transitioning some things out, and then I realized, I'm like, damn, I do, I got a couple sweaters that, get me in that. Like, I can't wait. I like when the autumn comes around because I can break them out. You know what I'm saying? I can like,
Right.
get, and it breaks up that like, a button down shirt, tucked in or out, whichever way. Sometimes it has a look that it's sort of like sometimes it don't feel, I don't know. Right now in my life, it don't feel complete. It's like, oh, let me put this sweater on. You know what I'm saying? You get the like color in the collar. And then, I got this, blue joint, or and I might have like a shawl collar. You might have more of a crew neck collar. Maybe you got a V. You know what I'm saying? Even though I don't always dig V necks without a tie. Sometimes it seems like it's almost like what's happening with my neck. You know what I'm saying?
Or you're trying to be a gigolo with,
Right.
with chest hair.
Not deep V. Now we're not doing a deep V. You know what I'm saying? you know what I'm saying? Like I don't even know where you go with a deep neck sweater. I guess you go to the Hamptons or something. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? And then,
Or like a lounge, like a European dance music lounge.
right. The drawers open all day drawers. You know what I'm saying? And like you could and then you go directly with the sweater where it's like, like I'm a fisherman, like I'm about to go out here and like hook some lines or something, and it's like keeps me warm, but it's not a coat. You know what I'm saying? And then there's sweaters that look a little nicer. And so I was like, I'm always like when I have the moment to be like exploratory with sort of like, when you are thinking about how you think you will look in whatever you're about to wear, but then like how also make you feel. And then you'd be like, yeah, I need it. I don't want to wear a suit today. I don't want to do this, but I also don't want to look. I do want to look like I'm, at least for me, I might have some meetings, right? And I'm going to
Right,
turn the camera on.
you put something together.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
let me, and so then the colors and the materials start to come into play. I don't have no whole bunch of wild, situations at the moment, but it was like, yeah, man, I find myself and like I've made some choices and some maneuvers. So I'm like, now I have a lot of sweater options. You know what I'm saying? I got the quarter zips, I got some crew necks, I got some buttons, I got some with like a little button that pulls over here. You know what I'm saying? I got some just like
the Robin Hood. You got like
you know what I'm saying?
about to go some archery, the archery
Right.
sweater.
I'm about to like I might either I'm either going to go take the sheriff of Nottingham's money or I'm going to put out the fire R&B record. One of the two. You know what I'm saying? I'm about to be like, oh shit, Justice about to like I'm only you. Like I'm about to like hit him with the Jeffrey Osborne or something. You know what I'm saying? Like pour a glass of wine. Let me sing to you. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I also want to encourage folks. You know what I'm saying, man? Put that sweater on, brother. Like it's autumn. It's holiday season. Put the sweater on.
Put the sweater on, man. And all sweaters don't have to be the funny sweaters, like the ugly sweaters, like
Yeah.
I get that. I guess if people like to, commiserate over bad fashion choices.
Right. Gifts you ain't want and shit.
Yeah. So like we've made a thing out of gifts you don't want.
Yeah, like I mean,
But
there's
yeah,
a
man.
there's a whole rack. Like you go this time of year now, like if you go to like other like Nordstrom rack last year, there was like a whole brand of like these are basically ugly sweaters that are intended to be you to wear to the ugly sweater function if you've been invited to one. If you don't have an ugly sweater, you can buy one of these. And some of them weren't necessarily ugly, but they were definitely kind of like only place you wearing this is to the ugly sweater party.
At least they're gaudy. If not ugly, definitely gaudy.
Yeah, it's too much going on here to just be like, I'm going to the office, go to this briefing about a new district, new district plan or national conference. Like, right. Nah, you go to the ugly sweater party with that on, because everywhere else they're gonna be like, bro, what's up with your sweater? It's a lot going on right there. All right, so With that, I don't really got anything. I just, for the good order, a little bit of everything. I hope for folks, and
Ooh, this was a little bit of everything.
be safe out there, man. Don't
You
let Dre
play too much.
play too much, man.
So in your night, don't get choked by Draymond, man. Have
Right,
fun, be
man.
safe.
And,
Watch your drinking.
but I mean, it's probably should be out before the weekend. But some of y'all may already be past the point where it's okay to just leave before folks get wild. So if you didn't know, and you got to go to these family functions this time of year, and and everyone that's listening, you know what I'm talking about. There's a time in the night where things ratchet up, and I think I say this every year at some time, and it's okay for your health and well-being to know I'm out of here before it gets to that point in the night. It's all right, man. Tell your grandma you love her, your auntie or whoever, your grandpop, oh, you leaving already? Oh, yeah, I got it. You know what I'm saying? I don't actually got off tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? I got to go. So get up out of there, man, before it get weird. You know what I mean? One love.
Wrap your plate, wrap your plate up, and don't do a whole bunch of black goodbyes, man.
Right.
Move with a sense of focus and agency, man.
Absolutely. All right, so with that, I would say peace.
Peace.
Thank you for listening to Good Brothers. Thank you to my good brother, Majestic. Good Brothers is a part of the Ask Your Oldhead podcast. And you can support the podcast by rating and subscribing, sharing, and of course listening. And I really appreciate it. You can also support the podcast by becoming a patron. Just search Justice Rajee on Patreon. Classic version